Morning, folks. Brian here at Geomagnetic Earthwatch. Friday, February 6, 2026. Let's talk about the situation in the United States with the snow and ice events. In fact, I think we should start a playlist, the new disaster cycle for the United States. So normally in places like Florida, Georgia, Carolinas, they're concerned about preparing for hurricane seasons, for example. You need to start thinking about a new disaster cycle, these winter events, which are half by a natural cycle and the other half, obviously man-made, geoengineered. So the first half of the situation is not manufactured by man-made technology, and that is the sudden stratospheric warming event in the Arctic, which is a regular occurrence event, but seems to be more pronounced or fragmented this time. And I've already explained my theory of the chaotic and unpredictable jet streams in the Western Hemisphere, which is the opposite side of the convergence of the two magnetic poles. So I've already explained that. If this was magnetic north and this was magnetic south, magnetic north is now over here. Magnetic south is over here. They are converging towards each other. The opposite end of the globe, the distance between the two magnetic poles is now increasing on the opposite end. The further away from two ends of a magnet, the weaker its magnetic field lines are. That being the Western Hemisphere, where the jet streams have gone beyond chaotic, unpredictable, fragmented. Now, the situation for the southeastern United States is it's resulting in a temperature differential of 45 degrees. So it is off by 45 degrees. It is 45 degrees colder than it should be. Now we're going to bring in the geoengineered aspect. So if you see a situation developing from the Arctic, naturally occurring, sudden stratospheric warming event, the Arctic air temperature excursion far down in the southern United States, then you create or add the ingredients for increasing the moisture content. Then you can create a catastrophic weather events, such as not just the snowfall. That's not it, folks. It is the more dangerous ice coatings on everything. Now I'm going to back up a step. There's going to be uneducated people or unstudied armchair or conspiracy theorists that will say, oh, HAARP's responsible for the jet streams. Well, they have absolutely no studies. They don't put any time into it. They're just sitting back and they hear HAARP and say, oh, HAARP did it. So you have to explain how many HAARP stations are needed and the power requirements needed and how it's done. Geoengineering, I've showed you several times now. Weather modification. I repeatedly showed you the stratospheric aerosol injections, chemtrailing throughout the continental United States, but specifically both sides and over Florida, Carolinas, Georgia, Tennessee, that whole region. I've showed you several videos. They're using dozens, if not hundreds of aircraft to spray you. Now, cold is not just limited to the surface levels, but in vertical columns, mass vertical columns, up to where weather circulation meets. A column rising up to the entire lower atmosphere. Now, this is where precipitation takes place, including if you were to create conditions through geoengineering or to bring moisture into a region. And then snow and ice accumulations. Now, if you're going to see a repeated pattern of stratospheric warming events, Arctic cold blasts coming down into far lower regions and repeatedly spray the skies, as I've been showing you, then you can't keep up with the repairs and restorations. It's accumulation of the damages that it's going to result in. Now, there's a difference between snow and ice events, people. Snowfalls can be managed. You can plow them away, you can salt the streets, but you cannot control the effects of accumulated ice accumulations, thick ice, one coating after another and another and another. And so ice becomes a structural failure event. You cannot plow it away. You can't melt it away. It accumulates on power lines, trees, coats the roads, and all other services, buildings, cars, you name it. It's not safe to travel. Fallen trees, adverse weather conditions hamper the efforts of responding repair crews. Then it happens again. Then it happens again. The freezing rain actually starts as liquid higher up. And then when it makes its contact with any surface, then it freezes immediately. Again, cars, roads, trees, power lines, buildings. Just freezes instantly. And it coats it after coat after coat, and it gets thicker and thicker and thicker. So the problem is the United States infrastructure is not constructed or made or adapted for these conditions and events. Everything in your area is designed for a normal range of temperature and conditions. Your power grids, for example, load requirements, your power lines, you start getting a thick coating of ice in your power lines, they're going to sag and they're going to snap. De-icing and salt stocks are only piled up for a certain average expected winter conditions. Building codes for your area are for expected temperature minimums. Here's the one that you need to pay attention to. Your agricultural zones assume certain frost dates, which are critical for planting, and even before you're planting, preparing the soil. But the soil is still frozen. And if you don't have fertilizer, and how people respond and prepare or not prepare. How many people have snow tires on their cars? Never mind, do they know how to drive under the icy conditions? Clothing and footwear. They're not expecting this. They're not prepared. Gas and food delivery systems are going to fail, and so on. It is somewhat similar to what happens before and during hurricanes in these areas. But now, as I say, I'm going to introduce a new disaster cycle for the Southeast United States, the whole United States for that matter. So the fear is not a single event, but an accumulation of consecutive events. And it's the duration of several events, adding more and more and more ice weight. Again, there's no time, there's no manpower, there's no equipment to respond in between to all these events. So it's just going to be a cascading failure of everything, which is going to take a long time and money to bring everything back to normal just in time for the hurricane season. So I give you my theory of what's happening with the jet streams and the magnetic field. I show you what they're doing. They're spraying. You see the reports of toxic air advisories, stay inside. Many people are commenting how they're all of a sudden getting sick. So they are using these sudden stratospheric warming events to their advantage for whatever their purposes are. I'm going to include some personal comments in the comment sections on this video on spooks, rather than saying it here. These are things that you need to think about and prepare for. Think about things which would not be expected for your area. Actually, I'm going to make a side note add-on. So I just finished checking the United States to see if they're spraying. Nothing right this time, but I've already told you they're going to be doing this before they start something, folks. So, Iran. I think this is the first time I've seen them doing this for Iran. And of course, over the Gulf of Oman. Persian Gulf, again. That means, folks, the United States is getting ready to do something, in my opinion. They actually started over the Red Sea. Yesterday. So I'm not going to check the wind patterns right now. I can only assume they started the spraying over the Persian Gulf over a body of water, and then the wind streams carried it over to Iran. A lot of chatter on the internet talking about that they're going to start this weekend, maybe as soon as today, start the war. So if you do a blanket coverage, enough of a smoke screen, if you will, your opponent's satellites cannot penetrate and see what you might be moving into the region, in my opinion. Heads up, folks.